He talks about how he's already out of the water and that she was in good condition, but he wasn't in good condition. And so he went to sleep. He's painting the picture that she was still in danger, removing himself out of any form of consequence, that he was never the danger element. He's always separating himself from an element of danger. I saw her alive and well, but the waves were strong that night. Always opening the possibility that the ocean was the one that got her. Always justifies what the missing time frame, 4 hours. It always ends with him going to sleep, giving him any type of alibi, his best alibi is that I was sleeping. I don't know what happened in those 4 hours, but the last thing I remember is that she was alive and well. YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This is the real Nathan Daley, and this is the first episode of the Crime Classroom. Welcome. Listen, what case are we studying today? We are looking over the case out of DR with Sudiksha, the victim, the alleged suspect, or person of interest, or possibly a witness. We don't know. And that's the purpose of this classroom today. We are going to take a deep dive into the information that we do have. Is Sudiksha deceased? Is she alive? Or is she deceased due to foul play? Or is she deceased because she drowned? Now, we're going to look at all the information that we have so far. This case is getting national attention for a lot of reasons. One, they extended their time. It's almost 12 days now. They got to let him go. They're going to return his passport. He'll be sent back to America. But there's so many answers. The parents of the victim want this thing to be over with, and they want her death to be pronounced. Now, it's still too early to say whether or not there's been foul play or if this has been an accident. That's your job to decide. We're going to break this case down and examine what we have so far. And we're going to start with the following information. So, welcome to your first day in class. There will be an assignment midday through the lesson. I want to get your answer and your response. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. So, welcome to your first day. Good luck. First, we're going to start off with the summary. We're going to get into the backstory. 2, we're going to see who's actually involved. 3, I want to cover and educate you guys on the avenues of crime and what that is and how I investigate. We want to then dive into the suspect. 3, we're going to discuss the 3 conflicting statements that Joshua gave law enforcement. Next, we want to talk about the questions that he refused to answer. Then, from a bird's eye view, we're going to take a look at maps. And lastly, I want to give you my closing statement and some tips on how things like this can be avoided, not just for ladies, but also for the fellas. This is important. Let's go ahead and dive right into the subject matter. What's the backstory in this case? Well, let's hear it from the media.
For days, local authorities have maintained he is not a suspect. He has not been charged with a crime. Police previously saying he was interviewed as a witness to a possible accident, but now they say they are examining possible contradictions in his story.
Here we go, you guys. We're talking about 11 days so far, and the victim is still missing. This is a problem. Key things in this particular case, that is a concern. Let's talk about the backstory. We have a group of young adults on spring break. They're here at the resort. We get the surveillance camera of Sudiksha, her friends, along with the witness, the person of interest, Joshua. So we're talking about 2 males, 4 females. We see them walking through the camera. What we do see is Sudiksha. In this video, she's stumbling. She can't hold herself up. And Joshua is holding her. He has his hands up in the air. I don't know if that's a phone in his hand. I don't know if he's doing a selfie. They have not actually confirmed any of that. What we do know is prior to this video that they were also seen at the bar drinking, and she was also vomiting and he was vomiting. So we know that they consumed a lot of alcohol. What we do see though in the surveillance video is that the other friends seem to be in good standing. They seem to be pretty much sober. They don't seem to be as intoxicated as Sudiksha, okay? So what's the problem? Let's look at the time frame on this. They are seen walking and staggering around 4:15 a.m., okay? So we have 4 women, 2 males, and they are going to the beach. Here's where things get interesting. Approximately 5 a.m., you see 2 of Sudiksha's friends walking through the camera, 5 in the morning. So essentially, they were all together for approximately 45 minutes, right? We don't know how far the beach is from that camera's view. We don't know, okay? But what we do know is that they were left alone. Who also is missing? The 3rd female of Sudiksha's friend. We don't know where she's at. At least we haven't seen it in the camera. They haven't showed it to us. And then we have Joshua's friend, the other male, who hasn't been identified. We don't know where he went, okay? So maybe the 3rd female and Joshua's friend went off together. We don't know. We don't know what they were how they were interviewed and what questions they were asked, okay? What we do know is that Joshua claims that he alone and Sudiksha were together. All right. The problem is, of course, as we already know, at approximately 9 in the morning, you see Joshua coming across the camera and he's not with Sudiksha. And this is where things get interesting. There's an approximate 4-hour window of time unaccounted for that we need to make sense of. What happened at the moment you were left with her to the time that you were seen on the camera? 4 hours. A lot can happen in 4 hours. But this is what he tells the investigators.
According to a transcript obtained by ABC News earlier this week, Riibe apparently told prosecutors that he and Konanki met the night before she vanished, partying and drinking with friends before heading to the beach, just the 2 of them, around 4 a.m. He allegedly said the 2 were kissing in the ocean when they were slammed by a large wave and dragged out by a strong current. It says he told officials that they both struggled to breathe and he tried to save her, saying, "I was holding her under my arm and swimming. It was hard. I was a pool lifeguard, not the ocean. Then, when I finally touched the sand, I put her in front of me. Then she got up to go get her stuff, since the ocean had moved us." He added, "She was not out of the water since it was up to her knee. She was walking at an angle in the water." According to the transcript, Riibe going on to say, "I asked her if she was okay. I didn't hear a response because I began to vomit with all the water I had swallowed. After vomiting, I looked around and I didn't see anyone." He told prosecutors he passed out on the beach and awoke thinking Konanki had gone back inside. Hotel cameras capturing him returning to his room that morning. Police have said they believe Konanki likely drowned, but have not ruled anything out.
Hello, my investigators. Listen, I hope you're enjoying this content. Take the time to hit the like button or the down button. It's okay. Make sure you comment below. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. And let's get back to it. Who's involved? I can't stress this enough how important this element of investigating is. What are we looking at? We have 3 women who are witnesses. We have 1 victim. And then we have 2 males that are witnesses or potential suspects. Everyone is a suspect until the evidence tells otherwise. Meaning, I want to know everything about the female friends of Sudiksha. I want to know, do they like her? What their relationship is like. Okay, I want to know how things were prior to the incident. Same thing with the 2 males. I want to know everything about Joshua. I want to know everything about his friend that he's with. I want to know where they were planning on going, if they've been to Dominican Republic before. How long were they planning on staying? What were their itinerary for the day? Have they got with any other women on the resort since their stay there? I want to know as much as possible. I want to see their social media. I want to know what type of person they are, right? Like, this is a deep dive. I want to know who the potential suspects are, just in case. You never know. You want to have a good idea of the people you're going to be interviewing. I want to know everyone who they came in contact with that day, okay, that night, where they went to the bar at. I want to talk to the person who was serving them drinks. Okay, that's important. That could be a potential suspect as well, especially if we're talking about cases involving kidnapping, cases involving sex trafficking. This is all very important. Anybody, especially those on the resort as well, employees, staff, can be potential suspects. They are witnessing people who can't handle their liquor. They're witnessing people who may have been drugged, and these are prime targets for kidnapping. So everybody is a potential suspect depending on how this investigation goes. So this is very important. So I want you to keep in mind is just because they're Sudiksha's friends doesn't mean they're not a suspect. Just because Joshua's friend is not in the picture yet doesn't mean he's not involved. We just don't know. You have to keep the options open, which is why this next chapter is so important. And this one is called The Avenue of Crime. What does that mean? You guys, listen, this is a technique that I created for myself when investigating complex crime with multitude of variables. And this is a way or a technique that I use to keep myself focused and grounded. So what is it and how does it work? Okay, before I get into that, let me say this. This video is a way for us to examine the information that we have and me give you techniques and tactics on how an investigator like myself would unravel this crime and give you in-depth knowledge on what that looks like and explain some details that might be a little confusing. This video is in no way suggesting that the person of interest, Joshua, is the suspect or that he's guilty, but we are going to examine him from a place of guilt and a place of innocence, okay? And anyone else that's involved, we're going to examine them from a place of guilt and also a place of innocence, okay? So this is for educational purposes only. So let's get back into it. Avenues of a crime. What does that mean? It means that I look at the origin of the crime, and from there, I want to ascertain what are all the different avenues that this case could sprout from if we're looking at it from the onset. Meaning, if we have the interaction between Joshua and Sudiksha, at some point in time, she's alive, okay? She's present. But then something happens. When this negative element collides with this place of origin, what branches out of that are different avenues, which are potential scenarios that likely could have happened. Let's talk about them. Let's rule this out and say, number one, Sudiksha is intoxicated. She was in the ocean. She was kissing and they were making out to whatever extent. And at some point, the wave hits her. She gets out of the water and she walks away. Meaning that Sudiksha is alive and doesn't want to be found. Or two, she got out of that ocean and then someone got a hold of her, a third party person that we are not aware of, and she's kidnapped. And she's either kidnapped and she's no longer alive. So those two are very likely scenarios. What's the third scenario? The third scenario is it could have played out exactly how Joshua said it played out. They got hit with the water. Last thing he remembers, he tried to save her, but he believes she got swept away into the ocean. That's a very likely scenario, number three. Or number four, they were there, he tried to save her, couldn't save her, and he watched her get swept away in the ocean. That's also a very likely scenario. One would argue, well, why would he lie about it? That's irrelevant when we are talking about the different avenues or potential outcomes from this negative component being added into a situation. Another likely scenario is that they could have been in the process of being intimate on the beach, but she refused. That led to a physical altercation, which could have caused her some serious physical damage, could have possibly killed her. And in order to avoid any type of consequences, he discarded her body into the ocean, okay? Or they could have went or attempted to go to an undisclosed location, whether near the beach, near another building, or possibly by his room, near his room or someone else's room. He tried to maybe force himself on her and it didn't work out, caused them to be physically violent towards her. And in the end of that, ended up hurting her severely or possibly killing her. And then now he has to discard the body. So either discard the body on the property in an undisclosed location or somewhere within the perimeter of the beach is very possible as well. Or he and his friend had contact with her physically in a physical way. And in order to prevent any type of consequences for their actions, they killed her and then found a way to either hide the body or discard the body in the ocean. You guys, these are the avenues of crime. Now, I know this sounds callous, but I'm trying to educate you on what it means to think like an investigator, what it means to consider every single option, every single scenario. And again, even in that scenario, he's innocent, right? And then in that scenario, he's guilty. Okay, and in that scenario, his friend was also involved. And this is important to help you navigate through your investigation. And as you get evidence, you rule out and you cut off certain avenues. Okay, all right, this is not going to play out because this evidence contradicts this pathway. Okay, there's also a pathway that she was kidnapped. Okay, that's a very likelihood scenario. This is the DR. Okay. And then there's a likelihood that she did drown. Okay, according to the news, I think approximately 4 people drowned just this year in Punta Cana, but their bodies were located. Okay, it's been 10 days. They're searching at sea, and they have not found her body yet. That would also get me to believe that maybe her body is still on the compound somewhere. She either got up and walked away on her free will, someone took her against her will, or she drowned, or Joshua had something to do with her death, or Joshua and his friend had something to do with her disappearance. Okay, so we don't know if she's alive, and we don't know if she's deceased, respectfully. So far, this is day 11, approximately day 11, going on to day 12, and this is what we have in reference to the avenues of crime. This is your first case assignment. Can you provide any other avenues of crime for this case? Share your response in the comment section. Answers with the most likes will be pinned. Good luck.